Welcome to the Land, your bet sports betting podcast, coming to you with Saturday picks here. Josh, Lander, we're coming off of a Friday after Thanksgiving. Not too bad, not too great. 2-1 because once again, Ausar Thompson had 9 rebounds and assists at the half. We needed 3 more from him to complete our over in the second half, and he got 0. So we are off. Ausar Thompson, love you, buddy, but we are not coming back to you for a little bit until those props get lower, as they've gotten pretty high, and everybody loves taking pogo sticks. Kind of ruined the value for us. So we'll come back to him at a later time. Let's take a quick look at how we did and then get into 3 best bets for Saturday. I just wanted to get these out to you as quick as possible. Some of these games don't even really have props up for them, such as the Lakers and Cavs, rather. They have some props up, not all of them, mostly the Cavs, because we're waiting on Donovan Mitchell news. I don't have it in time to get this video out to you, so I'm going to go with what I got. But taking a quick look at the 3 picks that we had on Friday, we are doing these weekend picks without Nate on the Coast to Coast podcast. Would also push you there on weekdays, where we have 8 picks for you guys each and every weekday of the season on the lines.com's YouTube page. So check that out on the YouTube page for the lines. But for right now, weekend picks solo dolo, we've got a 5.5 point spread on Orlando that we won on Friday. So that was good for one of our wins. Derek White went under 5.5 assists as well. Only got 4. That was good for the other win. And then, as I mentioned, Ausar with the bloody bad beat in the second half there. 30 minutes, still got 13 minutes in the second half. A little bit of a blowout. So I guess they're not playing him at the end of these minutes that don't matter. Either way, we press on. So let's go ahead and look at the record for the weekend in general. We are now 7-4 on weekends here, 3 weekends in a row without Nate. 7-4 plus 1.2 units, 4-2 on the props, 2-1 on the best bets. So we continue to stride on, like I said, plus 0.7 units for Friday's totals on that 2-1 record. We'll look to improve upon that here with the 3 bets we've got. So kicking it off with the first one, we've got Anthony Davis. This is the ladder that I was talking about that I wanted to get into. If you were looking at the Twitter page there, you also saw there was a ladder play coming in today for the NBA that I was looking to get out to you. I don't quite have everything I might want to be able to look at other guys' ladders, maybe a Darius Garland without Donovan Mitchell in, but he's probably going to play. So I just didn't have enough clarity there. So we're going with the AD. Over 2.5 assists is not great juice. You got to take minus 155 on DraftKings at this point for him to get the 3. And you got to go up to 4 on FanDuel. So you're going to have to switch books if you want the 4. Right now, DraftKings is only offering 5 plus assists, which is 3 plus 330 for AD. That wasn't quite enough for me. I'm going to leave it at the 4 that you can take on FanDuel at plus 140. A quick look at why. He's hit this in 3 straight. He's hit this in 8 of his last 10 games. He's hit 4 plus as far as the little ladder there with 0.3 units, by the way, on that one. He's hit 4 plus in 6 of his last 9 games. The reasons are pretty clear. The potential assists are going up for AD with the way that the teams are able to collapse on him. Certain injuries have definitely helped contribute to the fact that he's had to get more assists up as the teams are able to double him more with less talent around him. It still led to him being able to get at least the 3 assists that we mentioned here in 8 of the last 10. And really the situation calls for him to be passing a little bit more, I believe. We're going to be looking at Jarrett Allen on the Cavs for this game, right? And really what that means is Jarrett Allen's going to force you to pass out one of the best defenders down low in the league, which he was not available for a large part of this season at this point. He's been back healthy for 7 games, and his minutes have continued to go up. His usage and his impact have continued to go up, and that's why you've seen the Cavs defense revert back to what it was last year, which was incredible against teams in the paint, like as good as the Knicks, as we've seen, who are one of the best teams as well, and really forcing centers to pass the ball out more, not able to get as many offensive rebounds and putbacks because of the fact that Jarrett Allen has really taken back the post, right? So with him back in these last 7, the Cavs are down to the 6th fewest points per game allowed in the paint. And in that time, they've gone from allowing 48 per game on the season without Jay Allen there, and now back down to 43 per game. So 5 fewer points in the paint for the opponent in the last 7 games because of Jarrett Allen's presence back in there. Then you've got more opponents coming for opposing centers, which it's still like around 7 or so, slightly fewer than 7 per game for opposing starting centers against this Cavs team in the last 7 games since Jarrett Allen has been back into the lineup steadily. And that's why they're now up to the second most assists for opposing centers in those last 7 games. That's gone way up as those centers are unable to finish around the rim. They have to pass out now a lot more. AD can finish on almost anybody, but it's still going to force him to have to pass a few more times in this game than it would have otherwise if Jarrett Allen wasn't in there. So the mini ladder for AD, 1 full unit on him to get 3 assists, and we'll add 0.3 units for him to get 4 plus. All right, second best bet here. We're going back to the well in a bet that we had with Nate in Coast to Coast. That's worked out so far, which is Jaylen Johnson, our boy, who has really shown to be able to handle a bigger workload. At this point, his prop is 14.5 points, if you want to take that. And I'm going to take it for a full unit at minus 105 as well. He's gone over this in 4 of 5. Start there. Really, it's his usage and his minutes that give you confidence in this bet, right? So he's gone from being still third most minutes in the on the team so far on the season. That's good for the entirety of the season, but those minutes have even gone up in the last 5 games or so. And Sadiq Bey has missed a few here and there, but really in the few games that Sadiq Bey missed, Jaylen Johnson essentially commandeered the starting power forward spot and will find himself continuing to play there alongside DeAndre Hunter in the other forward spot moving forward. So his usage is up to 16.6%. His minutes are up to third most on the team, 35.5 minutes per game in those last 5 games. I believe we had an overtime game in there for the Hawks, so everyone's minutes are up a bit, but still third most on the team for the entirety of this season, and really especially in the last 5 games where he's become super important. Washington, a couple things here I'm going to talk about. Points in the paint and fast break points. So Washington allows the second most points in the paint. That's important because that's where Jaylen Johnson scores 59.5% of his points. So basically 2/3 of his points are coming inside the paint as well as on the fast break. 21% of his points off of fast break points as well. So that's really important here because Washington gives up a ton of fast break points. They've gotten a little bit better at it, but not when they play teams that give up fast break points. And that's where Jaylen Johnson really excels and is the reason that he is so important to this Atlanta team getting so many minutes at this point. He has the second highest frequency of fast breaks that he is a part of in the entire league. That's for players playing at least 10 games. There's a couple guys ahead of him that have played like 4 games this season. So I'm not really counting their stats as much, but when he's in right now, like he's breaking, he's going out there like 33% of the time in games of these possessions that he's in games for, he's out on the fast break every single time. I'm like 33% of the time, like I said, a lot. And really when it comes to Washington's ability to defend fast breaks, they've done it against teams that don't fast break. Unshockingly, teams like the Knicks don't even get 10 fast break points against them or against anybody. But against the teams that do fast break, Toronto, Indiana, Philly, Atlanta earlier in the season, all those teams have had at least 19 fast break points as a team. And a couple of them, Indy had 32, Philly had 24. So with the way that Jaylen Johnson gets out and just leaks all the time because he's so athletic and he's so big and hard to stop when he's going downhill towards the basket, that's where Atlanta wants him, is get out and go. He also gets rebounds and sort of starts the break, but the rebounds are getting really high for him, up at about 8.5 boards. And Washington gives up a few more points than they do rebounds to the power forward position. So I'm going there with it. Washington also allows the third most points to power forwards in the last 7 games. And that's a huge part. That's in huge part thanks to Kyle Kuzma's lack of defense, if you even want to call it defense, at 123.5 individual defensive rating. Daniel Gafford will be busy with Clint Capella. I think Jaylen Johnson will find himself flying freely to the rim quite often here. Easy for me to say. All right, third pick. Closing it out, and then I got to get out of here. Jonas Valanciunas, under 10.5 boards, minus 111 on FanDuel. Full unit on the under for Jonas. Gone under in 10 of 16 this season. And this is not a good spot for him, in my opinion, against Utah, who surprised the hell out of me. Raise your hand if you knew that Utah had the second best rebound percentage in the league, considering Walker Kessler hasn't played for 7 games in a row. I'm not putting my hand up. I had no idea really until I looked at this, and I'm looking at NBA stats every day. Kind of ashamed to not have realized that they have the second best rebound percentage in the league, because we think of them without Walker Kessler as just Swiss cheese down low. But here's kind of what we're realizing. They're limiting centers to the 6th fewest rebounds per game, in part because they're a matchup problem for centers on the other side of the floor. John Collins has done a lot better job than he did to start the season. Now, after a couple weeks of awful rebounding, he's gotten a lot better and is a huge reason for that. And he and Markkanen are the majority of the time the forward center combination, with some Kelly Olynyk in there, mixed in, but really predominant, and a little bit of Yurtseven, by the way, but very little. And so we're seeing, Kelly Olynyk at about 24.5 minutes a game means that for roughly 8 or to 10 minutes a game, we're seeing Larry Markkanen and John Collins as the forward center combination, however you want to break that down. More likely John Collins is guarding the big man and boxing those guys out, but it is definitely a team effort there. And that's the reason that they've been able to limit centers, on top of being the matchup problem, is they kind of run the opposing center off the court if it's not someone who's versatile enough to guard a guy like John Collins or Larry Markkanen. And there are very few centers that are versatile enough to guard those guys on the other end of the floor. They can't stay in the game long enough. That's actually the game theory behind Jonas not doing well in this matchup specifically since last season, where he was facing actually a lot more because these two teams faced earlier in the season before Walker Kessler inserted himself into the starting lineup. This was the same concept last season. Walker Kessler only played like 17 minutes a game in the 2 or 3 games rather that the Pellies and the Jazz played last season. In the 3 games that these two teams matched up, you're talking about a lot of Markkanen, a lot of Kelly Olynyk, and like I said, a little bit of those matchup problems for Jonas when those guys are so versatile to be able to shoot from 3 and get to the rim on the drive as well. Yes, I said Kelly Olynyk was versatile, but I do think that's been the reason that he's gone under in 4 straight versus this team. It's going to be a similar look to what he's had against this team the last couple of times he's played them. I'm going to go right back to the well of him getting under 11 rebounds, which he just hasn't done super consistently this season. So let's close it out here, get you out with the summary of the best bets. You got Anthony Davis over 2.5 assists. Little baby ladder, 4+ assists for him as well. That's plus 140 on FanDuel. If you can get 4+ assists at this point on DraftKings, find it. Maybe it's better juice. I doubt it. Really, you're going to be looking at FanDuel for these props. And then Jaylen Johnson over 14.5 points on that one. That's just the core bet that I'm going to stick with there. I wanted to look at the assists and the rebounds. It's only over. It's 2.5 assists is plus money for Jaylen Johnson. Keep an eye on it. I like it. It hit for us last week as well for Jaylen against the Pacers. It's going to be another fast-paced game against the Wizards, so it's a similar theory that I would use to get over the 2.5 assists if you want to do a sprinkle on that. And then Jonas Valanciunas under 11 boards in this one. I don't think he gets to the 11. Might get to the 10. Maybe we'll have to sweat it a little bit. I don't even know how good of a game this is going to be. We'll see who's in for the Pellies. Keep an eye out if Zion and Ingram or anybody's ruled out, as is wont to happen consistently. But that is all the time I have for you in this one. I appreciate you guys all following along. I'm trying to get this stuff out to you as quick as possible on the weekends. Travel is killing me. Obviously, I'm not going to land back in my home until tonight at like midnight. So continue to follow along. I'll see if I have a video out. If not for tomorrow, definitely I'll have one for Monday, and I'll be talking about NBA all on Twitter and everything tomorrow. So follow along at JL Boogie. Appreciate all you new subscribers and followers. Let's keep it going. And until I see you next, happy betting.